भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। So Hare Krishna, this evening we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. So verse will be 14. So this is a continuation from 13, 14. Both these verses, they explain the qualities of Mahatma. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatayantasya dhrudavrata namasyantasya mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Satatam, always. Kirtayanta, chanting. Mam, about me. Yatayantaha, fully endeavoring. Cha, also. Dhradavrataha, with determination. Namasyantya, offering obeisances. Cha, and. Mam, me. Bhaktya, in devotion. Nityayuktaha, perpetually engaged. Upasate, worship. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Purport. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising His holy name, His eternal form, His transcendental qualities, and His uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahma Jyoti, is not described as Mahatma in Bhagavad Gita. He is described in different way in the next verse. Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing, chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam, remembering him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the 5 transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything, in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadasi, on the appearance of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. as described in the second verse of this chapter, not only this devotional service is easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance or austerity. He can live this life in devotional service guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari, in any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Person of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunritam Mena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very important verse in Bhagavad Gita. In today's world, it is very difficult to find Mahatmas. So today we will try to understand how exactly Prabhupada explains about a Mahatma. So this verse 13 and 14, they are more or less one. So I'll just read verse translation 13 and 14 again. O son of Pratha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Person of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. And today's verse explains, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So now what we see, Prabhupada in the beginning of the purport, what he's telling, the Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. So sometimes purports, they are so heavy. So for a mundane person, it's not so easy to digest or to understand. So now what we see in material world, more or less people are hankering for puja labh pratishtha. Puja labh pratishtha means that people want to be worshipped and they profit adoration and distinction. Like today is the appearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So he used to say that puja labh pratishtha for Vaishnava is like a Shukrera Vishta. Shukrera Vishta means it is a stool of a hog. Now here in today's verse, what Prabhupada has explained, we'll try to understand exactly what is the definition of Mahatma. We'll go through that word Mahatma. So now there are different definitions given, and I was looking in the folio, and Prabhupada has given a varieties of different definitions for Mahatma. So in the Katha Upanishad, there is one nice verse, Manasa ekam, Vachasa ekam, Karmanya ekam, Mahatmanam. Manasa anyat, Vachas anyat, Karmanya anyat, Duratmana. So all of you got the point? It's very easy to understand, not so hard. Again, Manas ekam, Vachas ekam, Karmanya ekam, Mahatmanam. Manas anyat, Vachas anyat, Karman anyat, Duratmana. So the meaning is that a great soul whose thoughts, speech and actions are all in unison is called a Mahatma. He is not duplicitous. Whereas a Duratma who differs in his thoughts, speech and actions is called a Duratma. He will speak something, he will do something, and he is thinking something. So now this is the best definition what I found. It's mentioned in Katha Upanishad. So about a Mahatma. So we have to be very careful. So now also in Srimad Bhagavatam there is mention about a Mahatma. In one verse it comes 7.14.14 under ideal family life. So it is mentioned Siddhir Yajnasvatitha Kalpa Eda Vrittam Atmanaha Sheshasvatam Tejam Pradnyaha Padvim Mahatam Iyat. That means an intelligent person should be satisfied with eating prasad, food offered to the Lord, or with performing the 5 kinds of yajnas, Panchashuna yajna. By such activities, one can give up attachment for the body and so-called proprietorship with reference to the body. When one is able to do this, he is firmly fixed in the position of Mahatma. So now, this is what is mentioned in Bhagavatam about Mahatma. So further, there is one Upanishad called Chaitanya Upanishad, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is being described as Mahatma. Gaura Sarvatma Mahapurusho Mahatma Mahayogi Trigunatita Sarva Sattva Rupo Bhaktim Loke Kashyati. It is mentioned that Lord Gaura, who is the all-pervading super soul, the Supreme Person of Godhead, appears as a great saint and a powerful mystic who is above the 3 modes of nature and is the emblem of transcendental activity. He disseminates the cult of devotion throughout the world. So now, the Prabhupada has given 1 sentence, 2 sentences about Mahatma. I'll just quote few Mahatmas about what Prabhupada explains. Prabhupada explains, a Mahatma is one who engages 24 hours daily in the loving service of Lord. Okay? So now these are nice definitions given by Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada writes, when one understands fully that Krishna is everything and that Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection of life, he becomes a Paramhansa or Mahatma. Okay? Now again, Mahatmas are the advanced devotees, they worship only Supreme Person of Godhead. Further, thus the symptom of a Mahatma is that he has no engagement other than service to Krishna. A Mahatma never says surrender unto me, and that means unto him, but he advises everyone to surrender to Krishna. Mahatmas are not fond of indulging in mental speculation. The word Mahatma refers to those who are broad-minded, not cripple-minded. If one is not a Mahatma, he is Duratma or cripple-minded person. Such mentally crippled Duratmas are put under the control of the Lord's external potency, Mahamaya. Also, in one Prabhupada lecture, what Prabhupada explains, the word Mahatma does not refer to a political leader like Mahatma Gandhi, but to a soul, a pure devotee of Krishna. Enough? So now we can understand that these are the few different definitions given by Prabhupada about a Mahatma. So now we should understand material world. There is a saying, to err is human. We are doing some mistakes. We are bound to do some mistakes. But Mahatma, also one place Prabhupada explains, who is above 4 human defects. So anyone knows what are the 4 human defects?
Committing mistakes.
Correct. Cheating. Good. So you can remember MIDC. All of you know MIDC is very simple. M means mistakes. I means illusion. D means defective senses. C means cheating. MIDC. You will find MIDC everywhere. So whatever it is. So these are the 4 propensities are there in the conditioned soul. Even after coming to devotional service, many people, they are supposed to become Mahatma, but sometimes they, yes, I am coming, they say, yes, that will be done. So many things we give assurances, but we don't keep our words. So now, in the Bhagavatam, there are certain personalities who are addressed as Mahatma. So just I'll speak about that. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that Prithu Maharaj exhibited all symptoms of a Mahatma, therefore he is mentioned as Dhuryo Mahatmam, best of the Mahatmas. Vidura is also addressed by Maitreya Muni as Mahatma Vidura. Then King Chitraketu, Prahlad Maharaj, Ambrish Maharaj, even the 5 Pandavas, Prabhupada mentions, they were Mahatmas. Now, also in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna addresses Krishna as Mahatma in the 11th chapter. There is a universal form. Also, Sanjaya has mentioned once through. Arjuna addressed Krishna as Mahatma. Arjuna addressing Krishna as Mahatma, which means that he is the most magnanimous and unlimited. That is about Krishna. Now, what Sanjaya says, Sanjaya Uvacha Ityaham Vasudevasya Parthasya cha Mahatmanah Samvidham Imam Ashrum Abhut Roma Harshanam. Sanjay said, thus having I heard the conversation of two great souls, Mahatmas, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hairs are standing on end. This was like 1874, towards the end of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is concluded by not Krishna. It is concluded by Sanjaya. It begins with Dhritarashtra. It begins with Dhritarashtra, but concludes with Sanjaya, whatever it is. So now, as I told, Mahatma cannot be manufactured, what Prabhupada writes, rubber stamping of an ordinary man. Also in what Prabhupada writes, Mahatma is not a stamp for political leader. One cannot be stamped as a Mahatma by oaths. This also, in today's world, what we see, in India especially, there is so much hypocrisy in India. So now, in India politics, you will see Pandit. I will not name the personalities. There are people called Jnani, Mahatma, of course, that is being used. Then now also people, they call this such and such person is an avatar, or he is a yogi, or Shriman, Srimati, that we usually it is common. Shriman, Srimati, Kumar, Kumari, that is okay. And also there are some clubs, Lion Club, what they mention that president, Mr. Lion and Mrs. Lion. If the real lion and lions if come there, then what will happen? And they will run away. So people, they take any kind of designation. So recently I was doing Vrindavan Parikrama. So one fellow was calling another guy on the phone, Hanji, Mahatma ji, kya chal raha hai? And the people, they have taken so easy and it's so cheap. They don't know whom to address as Mahatma. So there is one, in Niti Shastra is one nice story. So it is mentioned that Ustarera Vivaveshu Gardabena Pati Jayate Parasparat Sambodhitam Aho Rupam Aho Dhvani. So somebody understood? Nahi. Chalo. Ustara means not this thing, not donkey. Ustara means unt, camel. Vivaha means marriage. Gardaba means donkey. So one time camel was getting married and all the animals, they were invited. Even a donkey, he was a good friend of that camel, but he was a very poor chap. So what he thought, I can't give any gift. So let me say, so you look so beautiful. So that way what he decided, okay, I'll glorify his beauty. Now all of you know how does a camel face looks like. It's very difficult. When you see that animal, sometimes you will think, how the Lord made this animal, so big legs. It is totally contradictory. When you see especially camel, it's very difficult to make out what kind of animal it is, whatever it is. So, in the celebration, in the, what you say nowadays after marriage, there is a, what is that ceremony called?
Reception.
Acha, reception, areva. Nice. Nowadays people, they are offering chappan bhog. So in India, so much now food is there, resource. People, they are offering people chappan bhog khao. This is all fanatism. So this way, what happened when the donkey, his number came, he said, he began to glorify this camel. So what a beauty, how beautiful you look. So now this camel was thinking, oh my God, he's glorifying me so much that I look so beautiful. Also there is a Mr. Universe, Miss Universe, Mr. Atlas. So many nonsense titles they are given. So now this camel was thinking, I should also reciprocate, isn't it? So what he said, Aho Dhvani, oh, what a beautiful voice you have. Now all of you know the voice of a donkey. So in India, actually in our scriptures, even the donkey is also given a good name. Anyone knows what is the good name of a donkey as per our scriptures?
Dhenukasura.
No, Dhenukasura was a demon. So one nice name is given to a donkey in our Indian culture. He is not denied any good name. So all of you know there is one month called Vaishak Mas. Donkey's name is Vaishak Anand. Vaishak Nandan. He's called Vaishak Nandan. Donkey is called because in the summer he becomes so happy. He's running from one end of the town to the other end, braying. So no one likes that. So whatever it is. So this is what is in material world. What happens? People, they glorify each other, and today's whatever media is there, everything is completely covered with all these kind of things. So Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how one becomes a Mahatma. Now we should know how one becomes a Mahatma. So in Bhagavad Gita 7.9, Krishna explains, Bahunam Janmnam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarviti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Yeah. So after many births and death, he who actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing that me to be the cause of all causes and all that such a soul is very rare. Muktanam apisa siddhanam. There are so many verses in Bhagavatam. So it's not so easy to find one Mahatma. Like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is one nice example given. So one time, Advaita Acharya, he was doing the Shraddha ceremony of his father, Shraddha. And actually that Shraddha Patra is given to a deserving Brahmana. So that was given to Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur, he was feeling so guilty. He said, why you are giving? I am a Mlecha. And there are so many Brahmanas here. What Advaita Acharya said, offering you this, I am and giving Shraddha to 10 million Brahmanas. Just giving by one plate to you, I am serving this kind of 10 million Brahmanas. So that is what Mahatmas, they are very rare in the material world. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are certain many cantos where this Mahatma word is being used. So one of the reference comes in the 5th canto, 5.5.2. It is between the Rishabdev and to his sons. Rishabdev, once he took his sons on a pilgrimage. This nice verse. Mahasevam dwaram ahur vimukte stamodwaram yoshitam sangi sangam mahantaste samachitta prashanta vinmaya shruhad sadhoye. So one can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. These personalities are impersonalists or devotees. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, one should render service to Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities, who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. That's what King Rishabdev, he told his sons. Then further he explains the symptoms of Mahatma. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They do not see any difference between one living entity and another. They are very peaceful and are fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger. They work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas. So now there is one nice conversation between Jada Bharat and Rahugana. Actually this King Rahugana, he was little puffed up. And what happened? One time his men, they were carrying him in a palanquin, and somehow one fellow crippled. So they substituted Jada Bharat. Because Jada Bharat was such a Mahatma, so he was very conscious while walking. Like now, I see many devotees while shaving or brushing, they put the tap on water. The water is just going. They never think of this water I am just draining. So, no common sense. So, Mahatma means even while walking he is conscious. Like one time Prabhupada, he said, we should not waste Krishna's energy. Like even a drop of water, whatever it is. So, Jada Bharat, he explains to King Rahugana, Rahu Ganaita tapsana yati na chejaya nirupnad grahad va na chandasa naiva jalagni suryor vina mahatpada rajobhishekam. O King Rahugana, without taking upon one's head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, a Mahajan or a Mahatma, one cannot attain devotional service. Devotional service is not possible to attain simply by undergoing severe austerities or penances, or by gorgeously worshipping the deity, or by strictly following the rules and regulations of the sannyas or grahast order, nor is attained by studying the Vedas, submerging oneself in water, or exposing oneself to fire or scorching heat. So now here so many things are mentioned. So in material world, what we see, people they undergo so many austerities, penances, so many other things they undertake. But by one's own knowledge, it is not possible for a person to attain the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Like in Vrindavan, so the Brajavasis, what they say, okay, only if you take shelter of Radharani, then there is a chance of associating with Krishna. And some Brajavasis, they say, even you can't approach Radharani directly. You can't approach. You have to approach the gopis. You can approach Radharani only through the gopis. That is also not so easy to directly approach Radharani. So then further in 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj, he tells his father about Mahatma. So Naishamatistavat urukrangram sparshchatya anarthopagamo yat artha mahisham padurjobhishekam nishkanchananam na vrinityavat. So Prahlad Maharaj explains, unless human society accepts the dust of the lotus feet of a great Mahatmas, devotees who have nothing to do with material possessions, mankind cannot turn its attention to the lotus feet of Krishna. Those lotus feet vanquish all the unwanted miserable conditions of material life. So Prabhupada explains that always engaged in chanting the Lord's glories. Prabhupada writes that Mahatma, he refutes impersonalism. Impersonalism means like entering into the Brahma Jyoti or the Lord is formless. That is another nonsense. So what Prabhupada writes, because Mahatma is attached to the personal form of the Lord and glorifies the personal attributes. So you will find a good number of verses in the Bhagavatam where the personal beauty of the Lord is being explained in the Bhagavatam. Now, what is the thinking, feeling and willing of a Mahatma? That is also explained by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. That comes 10.9. Machit madgata prana bodha ventasya parasparam katayantasya maham nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So this is what is Mahatmas. They are always, like in material world, there is a saying, the birds of same feather flock together. So material world people have their own associations. In America there is one association called AAA, Alcoholic Anonymous Association, whatever it is. So we will find in material world people, they, in a similar minded people, they have their own association. So similarly here what it is mentioned, that the devotees, they enlighten each other and they converse about the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada writes, he is endeavoring with determination. And he is determined in certain activities, that is Ekadasi, fasting on Ekadasis and appearance day of the Lord. And also Prabhupada explains that following the rules and regulations of great acharyas. So now great acharyas means we have 12 Mahajans. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, Yamraj, he tells the Yamdutas that there are 12 Mahajans. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Balir Vayasyakir Vayam. So Lord Brahma, Narada, Shiva, 4 Kumaras, Kapila, son of Dehuti, Swayambhu Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, Bhishma Dev, Bali Maharaj, Shukdev Goswami and Yamraj, what he explains, know the real religious principles. Now it is very difficult in today's material world. There are certain religions and these religions, they are like concocted religions. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the house of Kazi, so what he told Kazi, your religion is Kalpita Dharma. You know what is Kalpita? Kalpana? Imagination. Yeah. And in English there is one this thing called myth. And from that comes mythology. And they say mythological site. Mythological story. This actually Britishers, they more or less they fooled the Indians. Britishers, they rewrote our scriptures according to their thinking, feeling, willing. They manipulated our scriptures. But now people, they are coming to know the real meaning of this Mahabharata, Ramayana. These are not mythology. They happened, and we should not take them as a like mythology. It is wrong in one sense. And further, Prabhupada writes, always bowing before me. So what Prabhupada writes, for a Mahatma there is no need to do severe austerities. We need not to do penances. Material world, what we see people, just to make a small living, they have to work so hard. Like in India, common labor in villages, he gets 200 rupees for working for 6. Now they made that 6 hours job. Previously it was 8 hours. A woman is paid 150. A man, according to his skill, he is paid money, whatever it is. So what Prabhupada writes, that no severe austerity or penance is required, can perform in any social condition or ashram. So in any ashram we can do devotional service. It is not that one has to be Paramahansa or Sannyasi, renounced. No. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what he explains, Je dine grihe bhajana deki grihete goloko bhai. What he explains, when I see my all family members, they are coming together and they are singing. So I feel my house is like Golok Vrindavan. So and then Prabhupada further writes that only thing under the guidance of a spiritual master. So now this criteria is very important. So yes, it is not that number of years we put in devotional service, then we become a Mahatma. So usually in some government service, the number of years you put, then you get that time scale, promotion and other things. But that doesn't apply in devotional service. So Mahatma means, like I gave you a good number of examples what Prabhupada writes, perpetually worshipping Krishna with devotion. So this way Prabhupada writes, how do Mahatmas develop? They are not developed in some factories or some universities. Mahatma cannot be developed in some, what is it, nowadays you have nursery or by a test tube baby. It is not like that. So Prabhupada writes, by association with other Mahatmas. So one time, one Prabhupada disciple, he was asking, Prabhupada, how can I become sincere? Prabhupada said, yes, associate with sincere devotees and you will become sincere. Very simple. So similarly, it is mentioned that sadhu sanga, sarva shastra kahe, lava matra sadhu sanga, sarva siddhi hai. So now, Prabhupada writes, if we serve a Mahatma like Haridas Thakur, who always engaged in chanting Hare Krishna, our path to liberation is open. However, if we associate with materialistic people, we are simply mad for sense gratification. So now, in the Bhagavatam also, there is one instance where this Prajapati Daksha, he is being addressed as Mahatma. It is in a sarcastic way, jokingly. So, in that purport what Prabhupada writes, in this verse, Daksha has been described as Mahatma. The word Mahatma has been commented upon by different commentators in various manners, like our Acharyas. Veer Raghav Acharya has indicated that this word Mahatma means steady in heart. That is to say that Daksha was so strong-hearted that even when his beloved daughter was prepared to lay down her life, he was steady and unshaken. But in spite of his being so strong-hearted, he was perturbed when he saw that various disturbances created by the gigantic black demon sent by Lord Shiva. So now Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes that in this connection, that even if one is called Mahatma, a great soul, unless he exhibits the symptoms of a Mahatma, he should be considered a Duratma, and thus how could such a misbehaved person like Daksha be a Mahatma? Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is now making a big question, how he can be called a Mahatma. A Mahatma is supposed to have all good qualities of demigods, and thus Daksha, lacking those qualities, could not be called a Mahatma. He should instead be called a Duratma, or a degraded soul. The word Mahatma to describe the qualification of Daksha is used, Prabhupada writes, sarcastically, just to make a joke. So now in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada has given a big list of material world, Mahajan, about Mahatma and Mahajan more or less same. So what Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that is Madhya Leela, chapter 17, purport 185. Prabhupada writes, in material world, the word Mahatma is understood in different ways by different religionists. Mundaners also come up with their different angles of vision. See, today people, they have so many intellectual ideas. They come with different ideas. So what Prabhupada writes, for conditioned souls busy in sense gratification, a Mahajan is recognized according to the proportion of sense gratification he offers. Okay? Tata, Birla, Ambani, whatever it is. Because they are giving you cheap data. Okay? Now further we go. For instance, a businessman may consider a certain banker to be a Mahajan, and karmis desiring material enjoyment may consider philosophers like Jaimini to be Mahajan. Okay? Then for Prabhupada writes, there are many yogis who want to control the senses. For them, Patanjali Rishi is Mahajan. For the Gyanis, the atheist Kapila, Vaishishta, Durvasa, Dattatreya and other impersonalist philosophers are Mahajans. Further, Prabhupada writes, for materialistic anthropologists speculating on the evolution of the body, a person like Darwin is a Mahajan. The scientists who are bewildered by Krishna's external energy have no relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet they are accepted by some as Mahajan. So today we are so much technologically advanced, people literally consider scientists to be big Mahajans. And Prabhupada writes, similarly philosophers, historians, literary men, public speakers, social and political leaders are sometimes accepted as Mahajans. Such Mahajans are respected by certain men who have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada quotes one nice verse. Swavid varostra kharai samsuta purusha pashu nayat karna patetho jatu nama gadagracha. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. Now you will find in today's whatever it is, Facebook or YouTube, there are many public speakers. They are like Mahajans for people. There are different kinds of people nowadays on the media. We will not go into that. So what Prabhupada writes that in Bhagavad Gita 17.4, what he explains, that we recall that during Second World War, a man in Calcutta worshipped Hitler because thanks to that war, he had amassed a large amount of wealth by dealing in black market. So for that person, Hitler was a Mahajan. So that's what Prabhupada writes. So this way, material world, what we see, there is no end, dearth to such kind of people, and this trend, it will continue. So we should know here how Krishna has given the proper definition of Mahatma. So now we'll go to the Acharya's commentaries. And material world, what we see today, people more or less, they are not much spiritually inclined, and they don't know what word to be used in what reference. People use anything in any kind of thing. Okay. So now Sridhar Swami, what he writes, the qualities of Mahatmas or great souls are perceived in different ways. They offer worship to the Supreme Lord as being stated by the Lord Krishna in this verse and the next 13 and 14. The word Satatam means always is noteworthy, for it applies to all activities, always praising, glorifying, and worshipping the Supreme Lord by devotional hymns and sacred syllables are always offered by some Mahatmas. So other Mahatmas, Mahajans always perform austere vows for the Supreme Lord's satisfaction, following strict rules of conduct and rigidly controlling their senses. Still others Mahatmas always give propitiation to the Supreme Lord by bowing down or offering salutation with loving devotion, while other Mahatmas worship the Supreme Lord by always being alert and conscious of His presence within Himself as Paramatma, the Super Soul, and within all living entities also. The word Bhaktya means with devotion. Yatanta means fully endeavoring, denotes the fundamental qualities of the Mahatmas. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that in the last verse it was mentioned that they worship me, that is Supreme Lord. What type of worship do they perform? They worship always Satatam, not as in Karma Yoga, which is dependent on suitable time, place, person, purity. So then he quotes one from Smriti, Na Desha Niyamam Tatra Na Kala Niyamam Tatha. So for one eager for the name of Hari, there are no restrictions of time, place or impurity. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has quoted second verse in Shikshastakam. Anyone knows? Tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kala. That's what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, that devotee, he is chanting everywhere. He explains, just as poor householders strive for money at the door of a wealthy man in order to support their families, my devotees seek out yatanti, the assembly of great devotees, in order to obtain devotional process like chanting. Attaining that, they repeatedly recite the scriptures, teachings of bhakti. They have strict rules for themselves, Dhradavrata, thinking I must do this number of rounds chanting. This may be obeisances, this much service. They offer their obeisances. The word cha indicates that they also perform all other processes of bhakti, such as hearing and serving the lotus feet, which are not mentioned in the verse. They desire to be eternal association, in association with the Lord, Nitya Yukta. There is a rule that desire can be expressed by past tense. Here, the past tense expresses that the present condition of desiring, singing about me, they worship me. This parallel construction indicates that the singing and other acts are their form of worship. Thus, there is no fault in repetition of the word Mam. So now Baldev Vidya Bhushan, he writes, these two verses now explain the devotional process at all times without regard for purity, time, place. They glorify the Supreme Lord. They worship the Lord, loudly chanting the sweet nectar names of the Lord. So then we have Madhvacharya. He explains that, yes, he explains that to show that there are others who love him dearly, Lord Krishna speaks of those being of great souls who worship him with undeviated devotion to the Lord. So this way what we see that most of our acharyas, what they commonly explain, that the Mahatmas, their activities more or less, they are centered around pleasing the Supreme Lord. And this way we can understand here that how Krishna explains the qualities of Mahatma. So I'll just repeat that one verse again, because this verse will always, it will be a litmus test wherever we go. So we are not supposed to judge someone, but it is mentioned that in Kathopanishad, Manas ekam, Vachas ekam, and Karmanya ekam Mahatmana. Manas anyat, Vachas anyat, Karmanya anyat, Duratmana. So a great soul whose thoughts, speech and actions are always in unison is called a Mahatma, and a person who differs in his thoughts, speech and actions is called a Duratma. So it is very logical understanding. So we have to be like in material world, wherever you go, that we have to be little careful. Also, although we are living in Vrindavan, now things are so changed. So people, every step, they are trying to cheat you. So we have to be a little sober, and we have to use our common sense. So it is not that everyone, that all those who are living in Vrindavan, they are pure soul, that we can't designate. People are living with different, desires and other things. So it is very difficult to make out who's what. So Krishna has given us nice this thing, analytical understanding. So we spoke the symptoms of Mahatma, thinking, feeling, willing of Mahatma, and so many other things about Mahatma. So anyone has any question regarding Mahatma? So we have just 3 minutes. Anyone wants to clarify anything regarding Mahatma? Sure, no problem. We'll end the class. So thank you for coming for the class. Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Gita ki, Hare Krishna.